Welcome everyone to stop 3 of the Rangers Ed Rivalry Tour tonight. We're gonna do a little Rangers Islanders. It's gonna be a fun time. We got a great guest coming on, Sean from Hockey Night in New York. He's a familiar guest of the show. He does a great job. But for now, let's introduce the boys. Coach, what's going on over there, man? You got the sweatshirt on? Is it cold?
So it's in the basement. It's a little chilly up here. Nice, comfortable.
The Northeast, it's getting to that point already. I really thought the summer was going to extend this year, but it's getting to that fall, a little crisp in the air.
Yeah, it's nice during the day. It's chilly in the morning and at night. Beautiful stuff.
It's still like 85
Beautiful
degrees all day here, so I feel like I'm in a different world.
You pretty much are. I'm in the exact opposite end of the East Coast than you right now, on my way back from Maine.
We lost cousin Ed.
So, guys,
well, I should say though, before we move on to me, or that this episode is sponsored by Lucarelli Law. If you're in Florida and need a lawyer, tell them the boys at Rangers Ed sent you.
While you're at it, PJ, why don't you tell all the fans where they can find us and all that good stuff on social media?
Yeah, reminder, we're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, as you're watching now. Follow us everywhere, Rangers Ed Pod. Content's coming out daily for you. And we'll keep going on as we finish the Rivalry Tour. And we got our, if you're watching, we have all our handles above us.
For sure, man. And big shout out to you and also Allie Johnson with That New York Ranger Girl on Instagram and TikTok for helping us out with that daily content. And it's been great. Getting a lot of Instagram followers, TikTok followers, views every single day. The fans have been enjoying it. A lot of comments and laughs and things like that. So you guys keep liking it. We'll keep bringing it.
Absolutely.
Great job, PJ. Thank you.
Of course. Well, little Ed, he's getting his way back from Maine. Cousin Ed's getting his stuff back together, but we got Sean Cuthbert on this week for the Islanders of Hockey Night in New York. So excited to have him back on.
Sorry about that. My headphones died like right when the episode started. They just died. Like classic second episode back from a break mistake.
Didn't that happen on the first episode too?
I don't know. They didn't work on the first one. I prepared them to work for this one, but they only, I guess, had 10%. So there you go.
Gotta love it.
How come when I do stuff like that, you tell me, "Oh, that's very professional"?
It's tough.
I'm just busting your chops, Coach. You know, I mean.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Well,
it's not very professional of me either. So
I just busted his chop, so I got you.
It's a fair criticism, but
and I got 20 years on you. I'm allowed to. You shouldn't be doing that shit yet.
Well, it happens, but yeah, I'm excited for this episode. I think we should just jump right into it. Honestly, we're going to talk some Rangers at the end, a couple of moves in the hockey ops department, and we got the rookie camp coming up, so we'll touch on that after the interview. This episode is brought to you by Lucarelli Law. So if you're in Florida and need a lawyer, make sure you call Lucarelli Law and tell them the boys at Rangers Ed sent you. They're great. Dom, as you guys remember, he came on one episode this summer, and you got to see his face. We'll make sure to push that a little bit so you guys see it during the season as well. We'll get Dom back on. But for now, let's bring on our guest, Sean. You could catch Sean on X at Shawnee Hockey, which I'm not sure if it's Shawnee Hockey or Sean NY Hockey with like a little kind of a play in the middle there. But it's spelled Shawnee Hockey or at Hockey Night NY. Catch him on YouTube, Hockey Night in New York. And, of course, the podcast, Hockey Night in New York, on all the platforms. What's up, Sean?
Gentlemen, pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to be here. How you fellas been? How was the summer?
Well, had a baby.
Not enough golf. Not enough golf.
Sounds great.
Had a baby. So that's been my summer.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. Yeah, he's 4 months. He's doing good.
Right on.
He got everybody sick in my house. If you can't tell, I'm under the weather a little bit here, but I toughed it out, came on.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I wasn't going to miss
game.
Yeah. I wasn't going to miss this one. But yeah, other than that was pretty much my whole summer. He's like, I joke around like he's like the ringmaster, and we're all just the clowns, like in the circus. Like that's pretty much how it's been. So
Right on. Well, congrats, man.
thanks, dude.
You
How
got
about
it.
you? What you been up to this summer?
Oh man, just got back from Memphis yesterday. That was a good time. Let's see, did a little Florida. Just tried to take it easy, take a little break. Not like all you shows out there where you guys keep going along the summer like psychos. I take the summer off. I like to kind of take a break, unwind a little bit, and wait for September to get here and jump back into hockey.
Yeah. What was in Memphis? Concert?
What was in Memphis? Graceland, of course. No concert, just went to check the city out, So they have their own version of like Bourbon Street in New Orleans or Musicians Row or Music Row in Nashville, Beale Street. So it's like a big blues town. So got to check out some blues. Graceland, went to Sun Studio where Elvis Presley recorded his first tracks before he hit the big time. So I'm a big music guy, so it was a lot of fun.
Great.
You
Yeah.
familiar with the $1 Million Quartet?
Nope.
Oh, okay. We'll have to talk about that with you someday.
Sounds great.
Well, that started at Sun Records. That's why I'm asking you.
Right on. Okay.
Did you know this
Talk
was
about
going to
that
be a
another
quiz
time.
about music?
I didn't. I did not come prepared, but that's fine. We're going to get through it.
I had to learn a couple of years ago. Kathy schooled me on it, so I'll have to school you on it.
Sounds great.
But anyway.
Oh, geez. Well, that's great, man. What'd you do in Florida?
I got family down there, so just visited some fam and caught up a little bit. Nothing crazy, nothing special, but it's always nice to get away,
Yeah, Florida. I feel like Florida in the summer for people up in New York is not a good decision. Like you're better off coming in the winter.
That's absolutely true. We pick our spots. It just happened to be an opportunity to go see fam, so that's what I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great, man. All right, well,
Yeah.
Little Ed's on the road right now. Did you guys touch on that when my headphones died?
I did. Yep.
Right. He's been instructed not to look at the camera. He's doing a great job. But yeah, I know.
Instructed by my legal team behind the scenes.
Safety first on this podcast, right, Cousin Ed?
Yeah, always safety first. Why wear
Yeah,
that bike helmet?
Yeah, I don't have a helmet on, so
I almost wore the helmet for the episode. I almost just wore.
Allie would have lost it.
Dude, actually, funny you say that. One of the stupid like comedy barstool podcasts I listen to, like the punishment they give to their producer if she screws up and she has to like wear a helmet for the day. So maybe we should do that. If someone has like a bad hot take or something, you got to wear a helmet for an episode.
I'm probably the only one here with a helmet, so I mean.
Well, a hockey helmet, it could be any kind of helmet.
Right. Sean, if you're not understanding, during the summer, I took some time off because we had the baby, and I did some bike videos to kind of comment on what they talked about in the episodes.
Okay.
And I was wearing a bike helmet, and it became a big deal that I was wearing a bike helmet.
Hey, safety first, man. I get it.
Sean,
Yeah.
Sean.
Yes.
You know how Matt Martin's helmet fits?
Sure.
That's how Cousin Eddie looks.
Okay.
Great segue, Coach.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Fair
great.
enough.
Tied in. Anyway, all right, Sean, let's talk some Islanders. So
Let's do it.
Last year, Islanders made the playoffs 2 years ago. Last year, they didn't make the playoffs. We said before the season, we talked about the Islanders' contract. They brought pretty much the same team back. We talked about the fact that there were some aging contracts, guys locked in long term.
Right.
What do you think went wrong with the Islanders last year? Because it was pretty much the same team that made the playoffs. Or do you think it's just kind of a couple games here, a couple of games here, there, difference from the year before? What do you think went wrong?
I mean, they were decimated with injuries. It's a combination of things, right? I mean, they were definitely kind of they were riding out the those conference final teams a little too long, right? And I get it. Like Lou, as you kind of come to know, he's a very loyal guy, and you kind of learn as a fan, maybe to a fault, right? I mean, he rewarded these guys for what they did over the course of that time, and that kind of brings us to these contracts that you mentioned, right? So he kind of locked the team into that. And you have, your arguably your top forward and Matt Barzal going down early in the season, right? And he's done for the year. Duclair suffers a bad injury. Everybody's waiting to see what he was going to do with Horvat and Barzell. And then you have guys like Pellick and Pullock who, unfortunately, over the last few years have just kind of been made of glass. They just find ways to get hurt. So doesn't mean the Islanders would have been a great team if they stayed healthy. I'm not sitting here saying that at all. But they certainly would have had a shot at making the playoffs. But it kind of turns out, fellas, that missing the dance was kind of a blessing in disguise for this team.
Yeah. No, it was. You also have Varlamov, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Hogberg actually did all right to start, when he filled in for Sorokin here and there. But as the season wore on, he started showing his warts. And, he kind of revealed that he probably isn't a full season reliable backup. And I think that's why they went out and got a guy like Rittich as an insurance policy in the event that Varlamov's not ready to go. They're saying he is, but Rittich is here anyway.
Before we get into the offseason,
yeah,
and I'm sure these guys are going to ask a ton of questions on that. I want to talk about last year, specifically with Sorokin.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the discourse that I saw, I didn't obviously watch all the games or anything, but the discourse that I saw on Sorokin was that he was underwhelming again, that they were fans were questioning whether he was the guy. Even, throughout the life of his contract, we're locked into this deal. Is he an elite goalie still? What's the feeling on Sorokin? First of all, touch on his season. Is that accurate? Was he bad, or are the underlying numbers good? Was the team just bad? I don't know. But then also kind of what's the feeling on him going into this season?
I don't think bad is nearly the word that you use. Listen, I would say, funny enough, I watched the clip that you guys posted, right? And essentially, I talked about the year previous. He was disappointing, and it was kind of that again. But at the same time, the team in front of him, again, decimated with injuries. You lose a couple of your top defensemen there in Pullock and Pellick, and you have guys that kind of just can't carry the load. That Romanov went down too. He's arguably their top guy now, especially with Dobson being out. And, he didn't have a lot of help in front of him. And, that's not to say he didn't have a share of poor games, but I think with the right team in front of him, and I guess you could say this about a lot of goalies, but he's still the elite goalie that Islander fans came to know and love. But we've learned that he needs a supporting cast in front of him, and we've also learned that he's not a Marty Brodeur 70 game a season guy, right? I mean, not many goalies are in this day and age, but we learned that he needs a 1B to his 1A. And when Varlamov went down, they probably leaned on him more than they should have, even in spots where they kind of had to, right? If a guy like Hogberg couldn't come in and spell him, right? So I think that they definitely learned that the workload has to be probably in that like 55 game area, 55 games. They need somebody who can give him a rest. And that's okay. He's just not that guy that you can ride, nearly the entire season. But I have no doubts that with all elements proper, he's still going to be that great goalie. And I think he's still going to earn that $8.25 million a year for sure.
Well, Sean, speaking of goalies, I wanted to ask you about an ex-goalie, their coach, Patrick Waugh. Well, it was his first season as coach, full, for the Islanders last year. Where are you at with him? I know they're retaining him for this season again. Are you still happy with him? Do you have hope, or kind of done?
Definitely not done. For me, it's a mixed bag. Because again, it's hard to gauge how much last season falls on him because of the issues that they had. Especially, I'm going to keep going back to those injuries, fellas. But I'm willing to give him another year. I think it was smart. It was wise of Darch to do the same, kind of assess what this team can do with him behind the bench again, with a little bit of turnover on the roster. And I wasn't thrilled with him, but I also wasn't, upset with him either. So I'm fine with the fact that he's coming back. And to be honest with you, fellas, like I look at this season as kind of like an assessment year. Like I have zero expectations for this team. I think that healthy, they're a bubble team who can make the playoffs. Not even a guarantee. So I could see them pretty much where they ended last year. I could see them, sneaking in. I mean, the Metro's weak. You guys know that. I think, depending on, you look at Washington, are they going to do the same thing that they did last year? Columbus is kind of floating around there. Like if the Islanders can stay healthy, like I think that they can maybe even sneak into a week 3 spot if things go their way, or a wild card spot. But I would expect 5 teams are coming out of the Atlantic this year. And, it's I don't know if I put that lack of success on Patrick Waugh, but it's great for Darch, right? Because he can kind of take a step back, see what he has in this team that's kind of sticking around. You have contracts for Anders Lee, JG Pageau that expiring after the end of this year. He signed nobody beyond 2 years except for Romanov. He gave him his long-term deal, but everybody else that he signed either got 1 or 2 years. So he definitely wants to see what he has, and he's opening up the cap big time for the next year or two to probably make a splash or at least make changes if he doesn't like what's in front of him. And here's the thing with Waugh, if they fail again, then he gets to pick his own guy, right? Like it's a very safe space for Darch here, right? Because if they have a bad year, he can be like, well, it didn't work out with Patty, and he can move on and he can pick a new guy and see if he can lead them, further into the playoffs the following year, right? So I'm fine with Patrick coming back. I love the name. I adored him just as a young fan, as one of the greatest goaltenders in the league. And I think it's still surreal that his name is forever now going to be tied with the New York Islanders organization. I think that's insane still. So I love him as just a hockey personality, and I'd love to see him have some success. He got him into the playoffs 2 years ago after Lambert. They were tanking, right? And we'll see if he can have some magic this year with a healthy squad.
Yeah, it's a good question. I always liked Waugh. I know he had those issues last time as a coach, but I don't really hate his coaching style. I think he tries things sometimes that he gets criticized for, like trying unique things. I think he's the first one to pull the goalie with 5 minutes to go or something like that, or I forgot exactly what it was.
He definitely pioneered it or whatever.
I could do without that. I could do it.
But I appreciate
I'm not a huge fan of that either.
To do that. I just appreciate a guy with guts. I don't necessarily like the decision.
Yeah.
He's trying it.
He's putting trust in his team, which is a good thing in like a meaningless game, I suppose. But then like you also see a lot of like games just getting out of hand because of it.
Yeah, I mean, you think about how many games he might have thrown away, right? Like, what if he, was a little more conservative and they got that tying goal, right? But there were so many times where he pulled the goalie with like 4 or 5 minutes to go, and that bonus goal for the opponent goes in the back of the net because they had a really hard time just maintaining pressure. Like, it's one thing if you could be confident in the team maintaining a forecheck and keeping the puck down low, but I mean, they just failed miserably at it so many times where it was just a matter of time before that extra goal goes in. So it's like, why even pull the goaltender to begin with, right? Like, give them a better chance to pop in that late goal with a goalie between your pipes, right? And then not even to mention that the special teams were absolutely dreadful last year. And how much do you put that on Juan and his staff? They let the assistants go. They're bringing in some new guys, which I think is great. We'll see what kind of difference they make, and we'll probably find out if it was the players on the ice or the coaches behind the bench.
Yeah, I guess if you put it that way, it's almost like you're not putting trust in your team that to get it done 5-on-5. I mean, I like to get coach's opinion on it too. But the other thing I was going to say is like you don't get much practice time. As far as like from what you hear, like they always talk about, like it's a lot of just games now where you might have a day off in between for practice and whatnot. So like if you're not working on like 6-on-5 like every day or a couple times a week, like it's very tough to just pull the goalie, and have confidence that you're going to score.
Well, to answer that question, to me, if you're down 3 or 4 to 1 with 5 minutes to go, I don't see it.
That's
being
much
a bad
different.
Thing.
Yeah, that's much
different.
different.
If you're down 2 to 1, then I do disagree. And second of all, to your point, that you don't get a lot of time to practice it, so therein lies a good time to practice it in a game situation. So if you do need it in a 2-to-1 game, you already have work at it, and you can watch film and learn from it. So
it's definitely situational. If they're up by 3 goals, it's different.
Yeah, without talking to him directly, no one knows the reasoning he's doing it for, if that is a reason. But
I think he actually has said that.
Wouldn't it also matter if like where the momentum is in the game? I mean, if you're down 2-1 with 4 or 5 minutes to go and you're pressing and controlling the puck in the offensive zone and getting chances and it's not going in, I could maybe understand being like, let's capitalize on the current momentum in the game.
Right.
Kind of like bringing a closer in the 7th inning in a high leverage situation versus the 9th, right? Like,
and I can tell you guys that that's not what he was doing.
No, but I'm saying I could understand that as well.
Which one is he doing?
I'm saying he wasn't riding any momentum. He was just like, all right, Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. All right, guys, let's get an extra guy out there and see what happens.
You think he's more critical of the goalie, maybe because he is a goalie? So he's like, this goalie sucks. Get him out. Let's pull the goalie. I don't know.
I don't think so. I really don't. Like,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I would love for somebody to ask him that one day, and maybe now that Lamoriello isn't, you know, kind of shielding everybody behind the barrier, you know, you can't interview anybody or get any answers. Maybe he can kind of expand on that a little bit, but it's just perplexing because to your point, man, like, it's not like they were kind of just knocking on the door in a lot of these instances. Like, I really just think, and I would love him to correct me if I'm wrong. I probably am because I can't get in his head, but it just felt like he was like doing it on a whim, kind of like, all right, well, we haven't scored the tying goal yet. Let's see what happens. And then we found out time after time what was going to happen. He was, I mean, I'll give him credit. He was stubborn. You know, he kept doing it. He's like, oh, let's get him out again. Let's try 7 minutes this time.
It's
You
just
know?
one of those things, though, Sean, where it's like you know, if you watch football, you know,
Yeah.
the Lions coach, for example, he goes for it on 4th down like every time, like it's a video game,
Right.
and it's like
Right.
not the safe play, gonna burn you eventually, but he sticks with that decision, and when it works, he gets like praise for being confident, and when it doesn't work, he gets criticized. You know, so it's like to me, I don't necessarily love the decision because I wouldn't do it. But what I like about Wah as a coach is he's got the confidence and the you call it stubbornness, maybe that's what it is. But he's got the you know,
a little bit
what
of
am I
both
trying to say?
probably. But the problem too is that you talk about when it works, it barely ever worked.
Yeah,
That's the problem. You know,
yeah.
like
Plus he fights other coaches, right? Didn't he almost fight Torts that one time in Colorado?
that was when he was that was when Torts was coaching Vancouver, right?
Was that Torts, PJ?
I thought that was.
It was like the first game of the season, and they went at it. Yeah, it was
Torch had a
wild.
few because Torch had that one. Wasn't it Bob Hartley when he was down the tunnel in
Yeah.
Calgary and the whole team
Yeah.
was holding? That was insane. That video.
Well, he reeled it in with the Isles, man. He's not doing anything like that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see with Lou out of the picture now, but
That's what I was gonna.
he is a
Great
whole
segue.
different Patrick Waugh, I'll tell you that.
Good segue. So
He's a
Yeah, I was gonna
family
ask
man
about-
now. I saw him at Home Depot buying a Christmas tree.
don't ruin the segue, Coach. He
We
set
had
us
it.
up there. There's an alley oop on the segue. So
Yeah.
you talked about I was missing the playoffs being a blessing in disguise before, which was
yeah.
another segue setup that we just let go. But so one of those things resulted, you know, that one of the things that happened was lose out. So initially when that happened, I feel like there was a little bit of 50-50 between the Isles fan base that I saw online.
Sure.
With the majority, maybe a little more, majority of the fans were happy that he was, you know, done. But there was a lot of tension over the next hire. Who's it going to be? There was Ken Holland was thrown out there, I think, and a couple other names. So you guys end up with Matthew Darsh from Tampa, Julian Brisebois' protege. You got to be happy with that. It seems like that was a good choice, and the Isles are headed in a good direction. So just take me through the process of, you know, Lou getting like canned, you know, stepping down, whatever you want to call it, and then the hiring of Darsh. Where, you know, your feelings on it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a Lou guy. You know, I had a great appreciation for what he brought to the franchise, not just the mild success in those 2 seasons to the conference finals, but I mean, look, guys, and we've joked about this, you know, in past times that I've been on the show, and the Islanders went through some real tough times, especially when I was growing up as a youth. You know, the 90s were dreadful. And, you know, when you have all that kind of banked in your memory and you get to a place where not only do you have this, you know, sparkly new arena, but then you have probably one of the most well-respected names in the game all of a sudden taking over your franchise. And then he manages to hire one of the best coaches in recent memory, right? And he just elevated the Islanders' standing in New York sports, in the NHL. And, you know, I still don't think they're taken very seriously by the league media wide, but it was definitely a step in the right direction. And, you know, I always just had an appreciation for that. So I will always look back on Lou's years fondly, even if at the tail end, obviously they started to sputter out. And as I said before, he was maybe a little too loyal, you know, to that group, you know, at the end. And obviously they saw some failures there. And I think it was time, you know, like I wasn't upset that he was fired. I think it made sense. And I think that, you know, you look at the candidates. Obviously, I didn't know much about Darch other than the fact that he was kind of a journeyman, and you know, he was, you know, kind of learning his way through the Lightning system, which couldn't be a bad thing, right? But you know, there was no way I was going to be able to sit here and tell you before they made a hire and said, "Oh, this is the right guy" or "That's the right guy," right? You just hope that they pick the right guy, and so far it seems like every decision he's made has almost been universally praised. And you know, eventually the bottom's going to fall out, right? Eventually he's going to make a decision where Islander fans are going to finally start groaning, but it hasn't happened yet. Obviously, you know, he gets the first pick in the draft, and he obviously makes the right pick. I mean, what a great start! And you know, just reading up on the kids that he got, you know, the remainder of the draft, Aitchison and what's his Eklund. Yeah, I mean, from all after, you know, because I didn't know who these guys were leading up to the draft. You know, I'm no prospect expert, but everything I started to read after they drafted him, I was like, wow, it really sounds like they got some great kids here. So
I'm so pissed they got Aitchison, man.
I love him. I love them all, but yeah, I can't wait to see him.
Little Ed's gonna be obsessed with him.
But listen, what's that?
Because he's a traditional, old school, physical defenseman, stand up at the blue line, good skater. You're gonna love that kid, but hate him because he's an Islander. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, I mean, funny you say that is what I wanted to bring up next. Is like this is like the thing that makes me most nervous about the Islanders. You know, is like the new hire of the GM, the vibes around the organization. All of a sudden, he's already making it a much more fan friendly atmosphere than Lou ever did. You know, like you already see the tides already kind of shifting in that direction. Like we were on the boardwalk for the craft fair. All the Islander fans are excited again. It's a whole new thing. And like this kid Schaefer, like you gotta love the kid with his story with his mom and all that stuff. And like,
yeah,
I think you know, Sean finally got the league favoring the Islanders by just handing them the first overall pick for no apparent reason.
It's because they took away the All-Star game.
I guess, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, like I said, but I had to throw in the chirp there, you know, but it is good for New York. It is good for the rivalry with the Rangers and stuff. But like I said, like you don't even have to talk about any of the players they got or drafted or whatever. It's just the vibes that are around the organization, the changing of the guard, if you will. That's the thing that makes me most nervous, where like maybe they will start to attract the free agents. Maybe it will be a battle between the Rangers and the Islanders for where they want to live. Long Island or Greenwich, Connecticut or whatever, you know, like, or they don't want to live in New York City or whatever. They'd rather live in the suburbs.
All right, let's not get crazy.
Hey, you know, you just gotta just be a little transparent and non-biased in the situation. We live on Long Island, Coach Ed and I, so we gotta say what is happening. You know, the vibes that are going around where we live.
Yeah, but that's not gonna happen. You don't have these. Kirill Kaprizov's not out there right now. Like, oh, I can't wait to sign with the Islanders next year.
I don't know. It's kind of New Russia, Long Island right now, fellas. They're building a contingent there.
We saw what Panarin was a free agent. What happened though?
Yeah. All right. Well, next year when we talk about Kaprizov, if he's a Ranger or an Islander, we'll see where we are.
I was the one who sent it in the chat, so I'm not getting ahead of myself. I said it may happen. I never said it would happen.
But Sean, I wanted to ask you about draft day. Obviously, we knew they had the first overall pick going in, but on the day itself, and I'm sure we'll get to the Dobson trade shortly here. But the trade itself netted them those 2 first rounders you touched on. But all the talk going to that day, and even during the draft, was they're going to trade up to get Higgins, the Long Island kid.
Right.
Then when the Bruins take him, are you kind of nervous that? All right, did they really get this great return for Dobson? Yeah, it's 2 first rounders, but are they going to get – the old talk was they get Higgins too, and that would have really been, you know, the diamond in the rough in that trade. But they ended up making 2 good picks. But were you nervous after Higgins didn't get traded to the Islanders?
No, you know what I was nervous about? I was nervous about the Islanders taking Higgins number 1, which thank God didn't happen. But like – and look, bless their hearts. Like, I get it. Like, getting the hometown boys, because we had a whole contingency of fans that wanted the Islanders to take Higgins at number 1, despite the clear, you know, every expert and their mothers saying Schaefer's the guy, Schaefer's the guy, Schaefer's the guy. You still have Islander fans that wanted Higgins. Again, I get it. I even had a second, third degree personal tie to him in the sense that I played college hockey with his dad. So I wanted the Islanders to get him just for that, but not at the expense.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. His dad played a year at Hofstra club hockey with me. Awesome dude and awesome player, by the way. But anyway, I love that whole part of it, and I thought it would have been great, but not at the expense of, like, if you're just looking at it from a franchise perspective and a success perspective, you have to take the best player available. So they did the right thing. They took Schaefer, and they made it pretty clear that they did try to get Hagens after the fact. In fact, I don't know if you guys saw, but the Islanders just released this kind of, like, you talk about going from Lou to Darch and opening up to the fan base, but they're doing this series now, like this whole behind the scenes thing. And I had it on the background getting ready for you guys. And they did this whole behind the scenes, and you literally see Darch saying, just before Boston took Hagens, he goes, they're taking him. So they genuinely made an effort to get him. And it would have been great. And I was actually at UBS for the draft party, and half the building left once Boston took Hagens, funny enough. Wow. But so, like, I wasn't nervous when they didn't get him, because, like, you have to think of all the dominoes that would have had to fall to even make that a reality, right? Like, the chances of that happening were slim to none. And you don't get him, and which was great too, in the sense that, like, Darch, you knew that Darch had a line. Right, you knew that he wasn't going to just give anything and everything up to make sure Hagens was coming to Long Island, right? So, like, I kind of applaud him for that too, where I'm sure Boston named their price, and Darch was like, "That's too much. Sorry, enjoy him," And they end up getting to pick Eklund and Aitchison at 16, 17, right? And they come home happy, and again, by all accounts, like, the fan base is still jazzed up despite not getting Hagens. So, unsurprisingly, long-winded answer to your question, PJ. I wasn't nervous about it.
But I wonder, does Lou take him first overall, though, or trade too much to get him? Because that feels like a Lou thing he would have done.
I disagree. I don't. I think Lou.
No way.
Lou.
I don't know if Lou would care about that.
Yeah. In fact,
Really?
I think Lou's the type of guy that would not draft him for that reason. I think he would be like, I don't want to
just to piss everybody off.
Maybe not to piss everybody off, but I just don't. He hates distractions. He wouldn't want the distraction.
Let's not give Lou too much credit. All right, he traded the 9th overall pick for Corey Schneider, who had at the time played like 100 games in his career or something like that as a goalie.
The guy's a legend, man. Whether you like him or not, the guy's a legend.
From what he did in 1994, 95.
Speaking of 94, cuz.
He's a legend from 30 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
sure you still honor your legends from 94, right?
No, but they're not running my team and making decisions like it's 94. I want someone who's more of a Matthew
worked out for 2 years for me. Worked out for 2 years for me.
Yeah, but Sean, like, the guy buried the Islanders with contracts. Engvall, Mayfield. I mean, these are horrible contracts. Right now on the right side of your D, you have Pulick, who can't stay healthy. You said it. Mayfield and Tony DeAngelo. I mean, that's the right side of your D, right?
Tony D.
And you got Mayfield another 5 years. How are you going to get rid of that contract?
Lou didn't re-sign D'Angelo, so.
No, he didn't. But I'm just saying, like, you don't have a lot of space to get another D. You had to go cheap with D'Angelo because he locked in Engvall for $3 million for a year, 100 years or whatever it is. I just think. Look, you may have liked Lou initially. What Lou did for the Islanders was give them some credibility. I think when he came in, he changed the perpetual rebuild mood to, like, we're going to be a good team, and they had some immediate success, with the Eastern Conference Finals runs. But he wasn't overall, in my opinion, objectively, he didn't do a good job for the organization long term. I think Darch is heading in that direction. Trading Dobson was a good move. That was a really, really good move. Dobson's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's a really good player. But, like, where the organization is, signing him, would Lou have signed him? I don't know, honestly.
Would Lou have signed Dobson? Probably.
8x9 or something like that, Like,
well, he wouldn't accept that. He gave the Isles a number. I think it was 11, and the Islanders were like, nope. So they were like, see you later. I mean, Dobson's a great player, but he's flawed. And it's a very rare instance where you can have a 70-point defenseman and really not be too, bent out of shape that they traded him away, right? Like, that's a rare situation. And I was even iffy on it, but the guy just couldn't grow out of his warts and defensive mistakes, which he had plenty, and obviously his offense regressed big time last year. Now he's probably going to put up tons of points in Montreal, but I think Islander fans are very comfortable, not only because they're very familiar with his flaws, but also because of the return that they got. So, like, Godspeed up there in Montreal, but like, I think it's a rare situation where you can be comfortable, and the Islander fans are letting a guy like him go.
No, for sure. And look, I don't mean to jump down your throat on Lou. I just vehemently disagree. If I were an Islander fan, I might like Lou more because, again, he did bring credibility to the organization. So he definitely did that.
Okay.
Back
I was
to
a
the
Rangers fan. I was going to say I was bummed that he left. I
wanted him to stay too. I was mad. I was like, damn. Now they got a competent guy in there in my mind. So
back to this Schaefer situation.
Yeah,
I saw that he is embracing the Long Island culture. I saw that you were playing volleyball with him down in Long Beach, Sean.
Was I?
No, he was playing volleyball.
Awesome.
He was playing volleyball down in Long Beach, but I obviously it wasn't with you.
what is Long Island culture? What is that? Like cornhole?
Playing volleyball on the beach in Long Beach, being part of the league. Come on. It's
like
pretty big. Either down in Long Beach or down out east in like Cedar Beach and stuff. I mean, there's a ton of leagues all over Long Island.
Yeah, we could have used a couple ringers this season. So yeah.
Well, I only got the call once or twice when I was
Buddy, every time we get in contact, you're doing what you're doing right now. You're in the car, just driving somewhere across America. So
100%. So I appreciate the calls, and one of these times I will definitely make it out for you. But I mean, back to the craft fair and Schaefer. I mean, I made 2 plaques thinking that they were going to sell right away, 2 jersey plaques, and I didn't sell either one of them. So there were a lot of Islander fans excited about Schaefer, but not too excited, where they're willing to put their money where their mouth is and bet on him a little bit. So if you need 2 decorations for your studio, let me know, because I have 2 plaques sitting in my office.
Much appreciated.
You got to get rid of them quick.
Yeah.
Love it.
But,
Well, speaking of Schaefer, though, it seems like he's going to start the year at least. What's he looking at? Maybe playing the first 9 games? You see him sticking the whole season? Where's he starting?
I'm a little scared actually about that, because when I started doing my research, when it sounded like the Islanders were gonna get Schaefer, I didn't read anywhere that Matthew Schaefer was ready to jump into the league. In fact, I barely read that anybody slated to go in the first round was ready to stick in the NHL this year. Now, of course, we'll get some players that do. It always happens, right? But again, he only played 17 games in juniors last year because of his having mono and breaking his collarbone. And, he played some international games, and apparently he was absolutely tremendous, which is one of the reasons why I went number 1, right? But you just look at that very small sample size. You look at the fact that he's a defenseman, and defensemen usually, even the best defensemen that get drafted, right, usually maybe take a year or 2 to percolate, right, to marinate. And so I'm a little nervous about keeping him up. But I'll tell you what, man, the way the Islanders are kind of marketing him, even the league, I mean, it almost seems like a foregone conclusion that he's playing this year. Now, in a perfect world for me, unless he absolutely is just can't miss, blows the doors off of the team at training camp, then by all means, keep him up. If he earns it, he deserves it, fine, But, going back to what I said about this kind of being an assessment year for the Islanders, they don't need him this year. Like he's not going to be the difference between a trophy or not, So if he doesn't show enough in camp, maybe at most you keep him around for the 9 games so he gets a taste, let him feel out the league a little bit, and don't burn a year in his ELC, because he's going to be making a lot of money down the road, right? And I think in a perfect world, that's what happens. Again, barring he's just incredible in camp. And, but it seems to me like he's making the team. He's just getting marketed like he's going to play the year with the team. And if he deserves it, then that's great.
Did they change that rule, PJ? Or is it still the 9 games? I know there's CHL.
The 9 games is still a thing. It's more so that the CHL, I think in the new CBA, can actually go down to the AHL, where previously that's where Brendan Othman got screwed because he dominated the OHL. Since he wasn't going to the Rangers, he had to go back, even though he already proved all he could in that league, and they couldn't stash him in Hartford. But There was confusion of whether they're starting some of those rules in the new CBA this year, like they're doing the playoff cap.
So I don't know if Schaefer has to go back. If he goes to the OHL, it would, I think, his ELC would slide.
Yes,
Correct.
if he plays 9 games or less, the contract would slide.
Right, but if he goes to the AHL, I don't know if that rule changed.
He can't. He can only play for the Islanders or juniors.
Period.
That's it. Correct.
Right.
Because he signed his. Well, he can't go. He definitely can't go to college because he signed his ELC. Because there was talk about maybe going to the NCAA, so that's out. And I don't think he can go to the bridge either because of that transfer rule. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I don't think that rule even takes in until next year, right?
Yeah, I think it's next year.
It's next year. Yeah, there's a few though. They're like I said, the playoff cap. They're starting this year. They're like integrating some of the new CBA stuff into this season.
Right.
But I think that's one rule that's kicking in next year.
Right.
Yeah, I think I saw that they were changing it for next year. I think you're right, Sean.
Yeah.
So next year, even though Schaefer would be 19, he can go to AHL.
They're doing the playoff salary cap this year. They bumped that up, and I think there was at least one other thing that they said, "All right, we're going to do that this year." But yeah, fellas, I think we're all right here, and that the CHL exception is next year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I like that plan. If I were an Islander fan, I'd want to see him for 9 games and send him back. I wouldn't want to waste an ELC year and a rebuild. You know, I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So,
right. But it's not a rebuild, cuz it's a retool.
Well, I mean, that's a good whatever. I mean, it should be a rebuild, but I mean, look, in the last like 6 months or maybe 7-8 months, you guys went from a barren farm system to a pretty good farm system. I mean, you got Schaefer, Aitchison, and Eklund in the draft, and you already had Cole Eiserman,
right,
and you got Cal Ritchie from Colorado.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if as an Islander fan, I know you said you're not a prospect guy, but now's the time to be a prospect guy. I think now's the time. You know.
No. I mean, listen. Obviously, I've read up on these guys, and I know the Islanders prospect. I couldn't tell you who's slated to get drafted next year other than McKenna. But yeah, I mean the farm system, first time, long time, fellas, where you can actually look at it with some excitement and some pride, and look a number 1 overall pick and 2 firsts from Dobson will do that, right? I mean, those guys all rocketed up to the top 3 prospects in the organization. Eiserman is still there, and I think everybody's a little curious, at least to some degree, if he's going to be some sort of reincarnation of Oliver Wahlstrom, because everybody talks about his shot, and that's all Wahlstrom had. But it seems, by all accounts, Eiserman is going to be a more complete player than Wahlstrom was. And then Ritchie, it sounds like he'll probably maybe start the team in the bridge this year, and he's probably first call up when there's an injury, because it just seems like it's a crowded house, especially with giving these Russian kids a chance here. Siplikov's back, and Shabanov is obviously a very interesting guy they signed over. They're going to give him a shot too. So, yeah, I mean, they even got some goalkeepers that look pretty good. To take your words, man, it was barren, and now they got something, and now they just got to do something right with it, right? Because it's one thing to have the names, it's one thing to have the scouting and all the blogs out there and articles that are saying how great these kids are going to be, but development's a whole other thing, right? And the Islander fans know a hell of a lot about players that, as many hits as they've had over the course of the last decade, if you want to be generous, they had a lot of misses too. Michael Del Cole, Griffin Reinhart, just off the top of my head. I mean, Ryan Strome had a great year. He obviously played well for you guys and elsewhere. Matt Barzal. Wahlstrom, as I just named. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that were highly touted, were drafted high, and they didn't pan out well. And is that because the organization doesn't know how to develop kids, or are they just drafting the wrong kids? I mean, we'll find out.
Well, Sean, pop quiz for PJ. This shouldn't give you much confidence. Who did the Rangers draft the last time they had 3 first-round picks?
You're talking to me?
Pete is for PJ, because Sean doesn't know.
That was when they got Kravtsov, Keandre, and Nils Lundqvist.
Kravtsov, Keandre, and Nils Lundqvist. So don't get too excited.
Well, I don't know, fellas. You guys seem to be pretty cursed with those high picks, not for nothing.
It's crazy.
Even worse than the Islanders, boys. I don't know.
Laffy's going to be fine, Sean. Laffy is going to be A-okay. Next question.
I hope so. Oh, sure.
Yeah, but But guys, how many teams have every one of their picks make it? We're just following our team.
First round picks make it at a pretty high rate, Coach. I think it's relatively.
Right, not every team, every pick makes it.
It was just in such a short period of time, Coach.
2017 to
3-year period, all of them.
2017 to 2019, the Rangers had 6 first round picks. None of those players are on the team right now. Okay, 2020 they had 2, Laffy and Schneider. 21 they had Offman, who's a borderline bubble player. They had none in 22, Gabe Perreault in 23, and Emery in 24. So Laffy and Schneider. That's it.
You guys can go back even further, man. Like Hugh Jesseman and McElrath.
We're not doing that. No. Take that to your Take that to your
Sorry to open old wounds here, boys, but I'm just saying the high draft picks just haven't really panned out well for you guys.
Wait, you forgot Vlad Tarasenko. Oh, wait, no, they took Dylan McElrath instead. I forgot about that.
It's funny because the Rangers had more success with the late picks, like Lundqvist 7th round.
Yeah.
Right.
Igor was a 4th, and like
Berard. Made up for it there, at least,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like bizarro world.
Don't get too excited is all I'm saying, Sean. No guarantees.
I'm excited, cuz you're not going to rain on this parade, pal.
All right, let's talk. Looking forward to this year.
Yeah,
Jonathan Drouin, Shabanov. I don't know who you want to touch on. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on Shabanov. I know he was highly sought after by a bunch of teams. Is he going to be a top 9 player, or is he a bubble guy? And do you think Drouin really is a difference maker at all? Like, where are you at with the moves they made, and where do you think the Islanders are going to? What do you think they're going to do this year? As far as, are they going to improve, or are they going to fall in the standings? Where are you at with it?
Well, I touched on that before, right? I think if they remain relatively healthy, I think they're a bubble team that can sneak in. Probably a first round and out team if they get in. Like, I'm fine saying that. And you know what? Like, not making the playoffs wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for this team either. Another, decent draft pick and what's considered a pretty good draft, right? I wouldn't be too upset about that, because I think, as I alluded to before too, is that the Darch's plan is maybe another, year, 2-3 years down the road, right? He's kind of letting some contracts expire, seeing what he has, and then I think in 2 to 3 years we're going to see him really start to fill the roster and complement these young guys that are coming up with complementary pieces, right? So you look at guys like Drouin, like, listen, you play with McKinnon and Taves and Makar over there in Colorado, you're going to put up good numbers, right? He's capable. Is he going to do the same thing with Barzal, Horvat, Lee, and maybe Matthew Schaefer? We'll see. I like the fact that the guy can skate. I like the fact that he's a playmaker. I think he's going to help the power play a lot, and that can only improve. And that's another thing too, guys. Like, if the special teams are even just mediocre this season, it would make a world of difference. They were 31st overall in both categories. So that's a couple of extra pucks out of your net, a couple of extra pucks in the opposite net. And you're looking at, maybe conservatively another 6 to 8 points in the standings, maybe more, right? And that could be the difference in sneaking into a playoff spot. So I think they have the talent to be a bubble team, again, especially with a weak Metro division. Shabanov is a wild card, man. Like, he's super short. I think he's 5'8". He's got all the talent in the world. I don't know if you guys watched any of his videos, but he's got incredible talent, super crafty, very smart with the puck. Is that going to translate in a smaller rink? We'll find out, right? So he could be boom or bust. Siplikov was kind of that guy last year. Wasn't as touted as Shabanov, but he was known as a goal scorer. He acclimated himself fairly well as a 30-something point guy. Bottom of the lineup, 3rd or 4th line. That's where he'll be this year. And, maybe he grows a little bit, gets more used to the North American game. He has potential to improve. So we'll see with Shabanov. I'm excited to see what he can do, but the guy can flop, right? I mean, how many guys, that kill it in the KHL come over here and do absolutely nothing? So he's hit or miss, and he's a bonus. If he doesn't work out, really no sweat. If he does, great. It's another weapon to have. I think you got to look at Simon Holmstrom. He's been growing over the years. He looked great this past season. It looks like he finally has his confidence. He has a lot of tools. He's a grinder. He's a guy who can win puck battles. He doesn't give up on a shift, and you love to see that in a guy. He can probably establish himself as a second-line guy this year. He's probably going to have to, just because of the lack of high-end depth that they have. So, like, it's another kind of win by committee sort of thing, right? They don't have any offensive superstar. I mean, Barzell is a point per game player in an offensive minded system. We saw that the year before when, before he got hurt, he was 80 points in 80 games under Lambert and Waugh, who opened the game up a little bit. You get out of those Barry Trotz years. Horvat's probably good for 65, 70 points, maybe more if he does, ride along with a healthy Barzell. And Duclair's another wild card too, fellas. Nobody expected him to be a godsend last year, but there was some excitement over him fitting in with Barzell and Horvat. He's got speed, he's got wheels. That's what Barzell is known for. So there was some visions of those guys complementing each other, right? And injuries and when he came back, it just didn't pan out. He probably shouldn't have come back. And by all accounts, it sounds like he's going to come back healthy. And that whole spat with Waugh is apparently water under the bridge. So maybe all of a sudden he's a 40, 50 point guy, right? I mean, they'll be lucky to get anybody approaching anywhere near 90. So you got to hope that guys like Anders Lee can still put up 40, 50 points and, again, like score by committee. And the real thing for me is the defense, fellas. Not that, like I said before, not that Noah Dobson is a defensive stalwart, but, Pelican Pollock, with all these injuries they've piled up, they are not the same. Still good players, but they're not that top shutdown pairing that they were during those conference final years. Romanov, young, good player, fiery hits. I just, it doesn't look like they're adding anything else. D'Angelo brings offense, but you guys know what he brings on the defensive end of the game. So the defense for me is probably the biggest question mark, and that's probably going to spill a little bit into how Sorokin performs too, right? Because if those guys can't protect the net, he's probably giving up more goals than you like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go next to the defense. That feels like if there's any hole on this team, that's really where it is. And you brought up Romanov. What did you think of that extension this summer?
I was fine with it. I saw some people saying maybe it was a little bit too much, but he's 25 years old and he's gotten better every year since he's gotten here. He's not going to be your puck moving power play quarterback. That's not who he is, but he's actually surprised with some decent offense without having it in front of me. I think he's put up like 20-something points, maybe even last year. So he can help on that end, but he's going to be a guy who they're going to rely on heavily this year. It looks like he's going to be paired with D'Angelo to be that, defensive complement to a guy who can rush the puck or a guy who can put some points up like D'Angelo can. I'm interested to see where he goes. I think he needs somebody who can pair up better with him, and maybe that comes a year or two down the road. I don't know. I mean, listen, it could be pretty interesting watching him next to D'Angelo for a full season, right? We'll see how that goes. Big difference between D'Angelo and Dobson. But I think the contract was fine. I think that he's going to be a good, steady defenseman for this team. So I didn't have a problem with the contract. I just think he needs more support.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, the D is looking at this Puckpedia depth chart here, and
yeah, it's almost why I feel like Schaefer is going to make it, because they might need him.
Yeah,
Coach is very quiet over there. What's going on in Coach's mind?
He's on mute.
Coach is muted. Maybe that's why.
I don't have an opinion. I don't have too much of an opinion on it until I see them playing.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be the thing to watch for the Islanders this year. They brought Boquist back. He's kind of like what's he going to do? He couldn't find his way in Florida. He looked decent in some games this past year with the Islanders. I have no idea if he's a long-term answer. They're banking on that promise. They gave him a year to see what he can do. Isaiah George showed some promise last year. He got, if I remember correctly, 30-something games. He's got some speed. He looks like he has some smarts, but he kind of lost his way a little bit further into the season too. He wasn't ready for 82 games. So, I think he's got a chance to be a 6th or 7th defenseman. Scott Mayfield, big guy, can box some guys out in front of the net, but at the same time, he's kind of limited, right? So again, I think if you're looking at a clear weakness for this team, it's the defense right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we kind of glanced over a little bit, but you said that Sorokin is more of a 1A and needs a 1B. I mean, that's not really how his career was projected, right? I mean, this isn't a chirp by any means. I mean, is this kind of shocking? Because to me, that sounds like a little bit of a disappointment as well. I'm not saying he's going to be a Shesterkin, but there was a point in their careers where they were compared, or at least, they kind of came in together. That whole thing. They're very good friends. Blah blah blah.
When I say 1A and needing a partner, I don't necessarily mean based on his talent. No, I think he is absolutely, without question, an upper echelon goaltender in this league. I think what we learned is that maybe he's not a guy who can play 65 games a season. He needs to be spelled every now and then. I think that's what we found out, and it probably has something to do with having a bit of a porous defense in front of him, right? Like maybe if everybody was celebrating the defense that the Islanders had in those conference final years, right? That was when Pelech and Pulock were at the top of their game and they were shutting down, but Varlamov was essentially in the net, at least that first year, right? But, it was a lot less work back there. They were limiting shots, they were limiting goals against, and now they've opened up the game where they're playing more offense. And to boot, the guys in front of Sorokin just don't nearly have the defensive chops as the guys that were playing in front of Varlamov and Sorokin before that. So, again, I still think Sorokin's an elite talent. He's still a guy, who's probably top 5, top 10 in the league easily. But whether it's the D in front of him or just he's not capable of playing 65 games, he just needs a 1B, a guy who's going to replace him on back-to-backs, right? Or if he just needs a break. They need a guy who can actually stop pucks. And so that's what I meant by needing a 1B. Not so much because Sorokin doesn't have the ability. I don't question that at all. I'm just talking about literally being able to carry the load and play that many games.
Yeah, I understand now.
Yeah.
I mean, not many goalies nowadays can, like you said. So, I mean, for me, like a 1B, a 1A, 1B is more of like an even split. That's what I thought you kind of meant by that, where he's
No.
But I got you.
They were almost forced to play him just because they had nobody else, and that's when he was getting worn out. But as a goalie guy, I love Sorokin. I think the way he plays, he's so fluid in the net. He's very, very talented. I mean, I'm scared of him every time they play, even though they've had some success against them.
Right.
I still think any day, any game, he can just lock it down. And if they got in the playoffs too, he could definitely steal a series, no doubt.
Yeah, and a lot of the goals that he's given up, like usually it's just because of poor positioning in front of him. Like there wasn't, I'm not going to say he didn't let up any bad goals, but there was quite a few goals where it was just like, well, Sorokin had no chance on that. You know what I mean? Like you kind of needed him to be outworldly some nights just because of the chances that the opposition was getting against him. So I mean, just naturally, your numbers are going to balloon that way. Your goals against is going to go up. Your save percentage is going to go up. But like as a talent, as abilities, and if he had a proper 6 D-man core in front of him, like those numbers are all going down.
I feel like he got a little bit.
Say that probably about any NHL goalie, top NHL goalie. My thing I'm hearing from you is that everybody, you're saying, Barry Trotz left, so they were able to open up the offense. But who was the coach when they made the conference finals?
Barry Trotz.
All right. Well, there's my answer. Defense first, and goaltending. Better goaltending comes from better team defense, and then the offense comes from that. You can't just open up the ice because that's not going to fly in 80 games and into the playoffs. I don't care how many number 1 picks you have or anything. How many Trevor Zegrases you have that could do a Michigan and all that bullshit.
Right.
It comes down to team defense, getting the puck on the zone, then Nathan McKinnon taking off.
I'm with you, Ed, 100%. That team was forced to play that way. They had to play that way. I mean, everybody.
I understand, but you need to coach that. And if you're going to have a coach that's going to preach open offense and rushing the puck, and because now that defense is rushing the puck and they're not getting forwards responsible, getting back into position early enough to make plays in your zone. So now the goalie's out of position. I talk about it with my guys. If you don't back pressure and make plays coming back, even though you don't catch the guy, the goalie's reading the play. If he sees back checkers coming, he plays the play different. So now he's got to play scared, on his toe, on his heels, and in the net, and the whole thing that comes with that. So I don't fly with that. Oh, let's open it up and open up the offense more. Yeah, that'll come when you play defense first.
Coach, I'm going to save that for you when you start talking trash on Igor this year.
I was the first one to say it's about team defense when everybody's picking on everything.
Oh, I know, but
there
I
were
think
some plays that he's got to stop the puck. So we'll go
No.
over and over it. We'll analyze every goal if you want, PJ.
No,
I got no problem.
it's hard because hockey's a team game. It's like every play, there's multiple people responsible. You know, it's not.
Of
It's
course.
usually not just like the D's.
Except for when Keandre's on the ice.
Right. You know, so it's there's usually a breakdown in the D because the forward didn't back check and the goalie was out of position and the coach had the wrong lineup on and the GM traded for the wrong guy, and you could just go up and down the line and blame people. But at the end of the day, the goalie's the last line of defense. And when you're paying a guy 8.25 like Sorokin or 11.5 like Igor, you demand excellence. It doesn't mean they have to save everything, but they need to be elite, right? If they get beat, it needs to be like, especially in a back-breaking moment, it needs to be a clean that he was beat, like he had no chance. Then you like, all right, whatever, you know, it's what it is. But I feel like Igor last year, I don't know about Sorokin, he seemed to go through something mentally. Was that last year or the year before? He was like in the hallway behind the bench, like with his head down and stuff. I feel like he was really in his own head at one point. But I feel like Igor was giving up those timely goals against, right after the Rangers scored or in the beginning of a period, times where it really changed the momentum of the game. Like, so I think you can demand from Sorokin in those big moments that he is elite. You're paying him 8.25, to mask that defense. That's why you're paying him. To an extent.
It does go both ways. It goes both ways.
Yeah, to me, there's a difference between beating the team and then the goalie gets beat, or the team does everything that they can do and the goalie still gets beat. Like obviously, like Coach Ed said, you can analyze every single goal a different way, and it depends on who's analyzing it. So, but that would be.
I just feel the whole era is soft, just like these starting pitchers in baseball only going 5 innings, 6 innings. It's like, come on, 65 games. He can't handle 65 games as a 25-year-old.
He's doing, not the pitcher, right?
What's that?
It's not the pitcher saying "take me out." It's the team managing their asset and wanting to preserve their arm. Yeah.
Well,
these goalies are definitely playing more.
Nowadays, it's probably the pitcher going, "Oh, my arm's a little sore. Oh, my elbow." It's probably a combination of both. His manager saying, don't pitch too many innings. You might get, this. It's a whole era of that about the dollar and everything. And other than Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky wants to play every game. You never hear him saying we got to take Bobrovsky. He's not going to be happy coming, taking 2 days off. They want to play good goalies like Hank, Brodeur. They want to play every game. The elite goalies, top goalies in the world, want to play every game.
I think they all do. I think it's just a matter of not all of them can.
Yeah, but, well, that's what I'm saying. Then get yourself in shape to be able to.
Well, Coach, just to kind of burst your bubble a little bit, since 2019, Bobrovsky's not played even 60 games once.
PJ, don't bring stats into this conversation.
I'm just telling you. But not even any of the top.
It's all vibes.
Wait, whoa. Is that because of injury or because he just didn't play?
He just didn't play. I mean, that's just the way all these teams are doing it now, where they have a second goalie. They want him fresh for the playoffs. That's really what it's turning into.
And, well, that's a huge part of it. And I think, just the playing style of goaltending has changed so much where it's like, I mean, Coach, you say it all the time. It's such an unnatural position to be in.
Oh yeah.
As a human being. So like the butterfly style, wears and tears on your knees and your hips so much more than say 100%. A Marty Brodeur barely left his feet the entire game, or if he did, it was in a pretty natural position. So that plays a huge factor as well, for sure. Yeah. I can't even imagine what these goalies' hips look like when they retire, when they come out. I mean, Hank, obviously, I don't know. It's got to be crazy being able to walk and stuff like that afterwards.
A lot of cold.
Yeah, but Hank talked a lot about working with the trainers and figuring out different little methods and working with Allaire and figuring out little different things not to wear down. And he came up with that hybrid system where you're not relying on it 100%. I don't know. There's a bunch of arguments, but again, I feel like they should get in more shape to be able to handle that. And I don't think they're at a young age. I don't think they're pushed to that.
I mean, Coach, I'll just leave you with
It's more like get the surgery, get ready, just go in. You know, I heard there was a baseball pitcher at 14 years old that got Tommy John surgery already.
that's insane, but I think they plan.
So
that,
everything's
but
about like the quick, easy fix just to push them through and get ready to play 60 games as opposed to your body in a long-term effect. But that's another
I'll leave it.
discussion,
I'll
I
leave it
guess.
here. I'm pretty sure Sorokin's off-season training is pushing cars or something like that. I don't know what else he could really do to.
Him and Igor were pushing together that one summer.
Yeah,
They should be pushing trucks, cuz.
Cyber trucks.
Pushing trucks, dualies. I'm
Um,
sure that video was just for Instagram or whatever. I'm sure they weren't doing it every day, but go ahead.
so Sean, let's talk
Yes.
Rangers before we let you go.
If we have to, sure.
Yeah, so I mean, you probably enjoyed the collapse last year off the President's Trophy. I'm sure you enjoyed everything that was going on in the locker room, and it was a disaster, just flat out disaster. There's no sugarcoating it. But you know, where do you see this team going with Sullivan? You know, a full year of JT Miller. You think they get back in the playoffs? I know you're probably going to say they'll be right there. Maybe they'll get the third spot in the Metro. I'm sure that's the safe answer. But like, do you think they actually get in?
Well, I guess I can go then.
No, I mean, I wanted more. I'm trying to push yes to be more definitive, because like the Rangers, you know, I feel like they should be in the playoffs, right? That's the issue.
Absolutely.
But do you think it's going to depend? Can they get their vibe back? You know, do you think they do, or do you think it's going to be tough sledding?
Well, let me go a little higher up the ranks there. And now again, I'm like viewing from afar, so you guys can probably educate me on this and give me some better opinions on it. But like from afar, like I'm terrified of Chris Drury. Like I don't think he's doing a good job. I think the way he's handled his players has been pretty dismal. You know, it's funny because I talk about Lou before, right, and how he's loyal to his guys, and it looks like Drury is like on the absolute opposite end of that, right? With the way he treated Gaudreau and Trouba and all that. And again, I'm looking from afar here, but you know, I worry about just the overall vibe in the locker room, and you know, I wonder if those sorts of decisions are what, you know, kind of reverberated through the room, and that's why you guys saw the year you had last year. Because I mean, you guys should have been not only been in the playoffs, but like you guys should have been competing, right? Like you come off a President's Trophy win, like you mentioned. And, you know, everybody should be talking Stanley Cup, right? And the fact that they fell off the face of the earth like that with all of the talent that they had, like that tells me that something else is going on. So I wonder, you know, listen, I love Sullivan. I'm not happy that you guys got him. I think he's going to be great for you guys. You guys always seem to pick up great coaches. But I think he's going to help for sure. And I think he's actually going to play a big part in rallying that room and getting those guys together to forget whatever the hell happened last year and be the players that they can be and be a successful team this year. I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic. But like, you know, you look at those names, man, and you look at, you know, the numbers that they've all put up over various points in their careers. You know, I don't know how thrilled or not you are with getting rid of Kreider. I know he was getting older, but I feel like he was like, you know, kind of a glue guy on that team. I feel like he was, you know, like, I don't know, was it the right decision to get rid of him? You guys will tell me in a second. But I just like wonder if the locker room dynamic is fractured and if it's, you know, able to be repaired. And I just like, if I was a Ranger fan, a more educated one, you know, I wonder if I would be happy with the job that Drury has done, and if he's really the guy that should be running the show. Because, like, again, from the island, I don't like what he's doing with that team at all.
Yeah, I mean, Little Ed, you want to take it? I mean,
Or you do like what he's doing with the team?
Oh, as an Islander fan, sure, but like, you know, just in fairness to like actually having success, you know, like take all the Islander BS away. Like I just like if you guys were the Kraken and I was a Flames fan or so, I don't know, whatever, like I'd just be like, what is this guy doing? You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll touch on the Kreider situation first because I feel like I'm one of like the few, I guess, whatever podcasts or online guys that kind of talked a little smack when it first happened, where it's like we've been we've been saying as Ranger fans, Kreider's entire career, how inconsistent he is, and sure, like he's given us a lot of memories. Shout out to Jeff on Mind Your Fucking Business, also PJ and Coach. We didn't mention made an appearance last night on From the Blue Seats podcast on the Hockey Pod Network or whatever. They did a great job, but first of all, and Chris Drury's not the only one pulling the strings. I mean, it may look like that way because he's president and GM, but Dolan it plays a big role in the situation. I mean, Cousin Ed will touch on it, and PJ, I'm sure too. The contracts at some point have to be moved. Sure, did he handle the situation great? No. But those kinds of situation, is there an easy way or is there a right way to handle them? So it's tough there. But back to Kreider, it's like I almost started to think like maybe he was the problem. Like everyone's like, oh, Kreider's a true Ranger. He's the leader. He's this, that. He had every opportunity to step up last year and be a leader when there was a huge hole and there was a lot of turmoil in the locker room for him to be like, hey, guys, stop being babies and let's snap out of it and let's play some hockey. He was the biggest baby in the room, it seemed like. He wasn't the same in any interviews post-game. He wasn't the same on the ice. He wasn't the same at the Four Nations. The list goes on. So, like, he just wasn't the same player, so the time was right. And it sucks, obviously. Like I said, he gave us a lot of good memories as Ranger fans. But at the same time, he gave us a lot of pretty shitty ones, too. And sometimes those are the ones that stick out in your memory more. And I wish him all the luck in Anaheim, but I think it was time. And I'm sure the other guys will say the same thing, that the locker room needed to be changed. And someone's head needed to roll at this point again. And unfortunately, Kreider's contract was the only one that really allowed it.
Yeah, I mean, let me take the next stab at this. I think that was well said, but I'm going to say this because these things are not mutually exclusive. I on the one hand defend Chris Drury because I think too much drama was taken from what he did. I think what he did with Gaudreau and Trouba is consistent with what other GMs on other teams do all the time. He's managing the salary cap. Tampa threatened Ryan McDonough before moving him to Nashville. McDonough goes back to Tampa. He doesn't cry. He just comes back and seamlessly comes back on the team a year or two later, right? I mean, you see examples of this all the time. It just happened this year again. San Jose picked up somebody on waivers because the GM, they had a no trade clause. It literally just happened again. So I defend him in that sense where I want a ruthless guy running the team because honestly, in a salary cap world like this, you've got to improve the team and you can't do it.
You have to be ruthless.
If you're locked into contracts, so you have to move guys. The only way to do it. On the other hand, I personally would have fired Chris Drury if I were the owner because honestly, the last year was such a disaster. I mean, it was just such a disaster that it's almost crazy to me. That he's back. And part of it is, I think the owner was saying, I don't want to let these players get another scalp by firing him. Mm-hmm. I think that might've been it. Cause he's paying a lot of money to these coaches that keep getting fired every 2 years because the players are throwing fits. So maybe he didn't want to give them another scalp, but I think it's kind of crazy that he's still around after what happened last year. I mean, It's odd, but I don't think he's that bad. I mean, he moved guys that underperformed, and I mean, some of those trades I didn't like. The Kakko trade, I think he didn't get enough value, but whatever. You're splitting hairs. He values the D over the four, like whatever. Coach liked that trade. I didn't like it. So I mean, that tells you if two people can disagree, throw it up in the air, right? I mean, I don't know, PJ. Do you agree with what I said, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, big picture before last year, they made 2 conference finals in 3 years under Drury. Like, obviously, you can nitpick moves here and there, but that's pretty solid. And he did the right thing in targeting Gaudreau, who was way overpaid for a fourth-line role, and Trouba, who severely underperformed in that playoff the year before. So he targeted the right people to get out. Maybe he didn't do it the right way. But in my mind, last year is more on the players. Like, just because your buddies got traded doesn't mean you should quit.
Yeah.
But for me, I blame the players last year way more than I do Drury. Like, sure, he deserves blame, but it's players for me.
It's also good.
I think that begs the question, though. If that's the case, then are these players going to be able to get it together to, perform the way they should, right? Because it's because like, and you talk about like, you got to be cutthroat and you got to know when to cut the cord, which is absolutely true because ultimately you're trying to build a successful team, but you also have to find a balance between that and culture. Like, again, these guys aren't robots, and fans tend to forget that all the time, right? Like, it's not just talent. It's not just points on a score sheet. It's also the chemistry in the locker room, how these guys get along, and also just morale, right? So, if those guys in the locker room happen to not take kindly to how, those situations were handled, then you're going to get a fracture, and then you wonder how they're going to build it back up. And do they have the moxie to, man up and recover for that? I mean, maybe we find out that it really was the players, and those are guys that just don't belong there because they can't overcome a situation like that. So I'm super curious to see, what those first 10 games look like under Sullivan, and just, to see if these guys can kind of hit the reset button.
Yeah, coach. I mean, insert JT Miller and Sullivan to hopefully solve that problem, right? I mean,
I'm very confident that it's going to be a difference. If Drury's that bad, I don't know if Sullivan would have made that move without any kind of I don't know what the term would be, assurance that things would be a little different. He obviously has dealt with Drury with the Four Nations team, the USA team, and he, their BU guys or whatever that nonsense is, So I think that I think Sullivan is the guy to change that culture. And like I've said multiple times on every show and podcast, the fact that Sullivan talked to these guys right away, he's setting that culture, and he probably told them, we got to get over last year, grow up, just like we're saying. You think he's not saying you got to get over that? We got to move on. You got to move forward. You're an NHL player. You're a professional. He's reading them all that, and he's telling. He's not the type that I don't think that's going to sugarcoat it. He's going to tell them like a father, and let's move on and let's get over this. I need you to do this. The team needs it. I think it's going to be a big difference. I'm confident.
And I think he's got the respect and like the name. I mean, obviously Peter Laviolette was obviously a very well-respected, well-known coach, but I think Sullivan is on the level with Chris Drury, and it's a mutual respect and a mutual, whatever, even playing field, whatever you want to call it, where he's not going to be afraid to like bench someone like Panarin or Mika or anybody. Whereas I think in the past, I think it was a little bit of like, I can't bench these guys. These are my stars or whatever. I think Sullivan, I hope, I mean, maybe I'm speaking from a hope, but I think he's a different type of coach. Well, like Coach Ed said, where it's just no BS. If you're not performing this game, you're going to be taking a seat.
we'll see if Mika gets healthy scratch. We'll see.
I didn't say scratched. I didn't say scratched. I did not say scratched. I said benched.
Sean,
bench for a period, taken off the power play, situational. What do you used to call it, Coach? Situational benching. I think we did a whole episode or a whole coach's corner on it.
Yeah.
I also think the fact that he was able to manage Crosby and Malkin for 10 years is not an easy thing.
Malkin's personality is probably, I mean, you hear stories about it. Whit and Biz talk about it on almost every Chicklets episode. Managing that personality alone,
We'll see. I think Sean nailed it. We'll kind of know in the first 10 games, regardless of record, where the team's vibes are. I think that'll just give us a sign of where they're headed. Even if they come out 5-5 or something like that, we'll know the vibes from watching. So
yeah, you'll know by body language. You'll know by last year the body language on the team was just miserable.
It was disgusting. It was disgusting.
Just watching the games was miserable, horrible. You saw
It was
their
a chore
faces
to watch.
there. Even when they scored a goal, they
bad.
weren't like, it wasn't even exciting. So
it was bad.
Definitely,
I mean, you go from up 2-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals after winning the President's Trophy, thinking there's a legit shot at winning the Cup 30 years after the last time you did. All the signs are there. They're going to win the Cup. To blowing that, losing to Florida, and then just completely collapsing to the point that 30-40% of the roster is turned over. I mean, you cannot have a worse 14 months as a fan of a sports team than what we did with the Rangers last year.
That was just a wonderful 20 seconds there, cuz.
I mean,
I loved every second of that.
With that if you want, but like it was horrible. Like it was literally one of the worst things. It was so bad that it rivaled Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants, winning the MVP, and going to the Super Bowl and all that. Like, imagine Matt Barzal leaves in free agency, signs with the Rangers, and then wins the Conn Smythe Trophy as the Rangers win the Stanley Cup?
That would be grotesque. Yeah, that wouldn't feel nice. Wouldn't feel
Okay,
nice.
that's pretty bad, right? So this
If you put it that way.
And that was the dooming segment brought to you by Cousin Ed.
Yeah, Jesus.
All right, on that note, guys, love you guys. See you next week.
Yeah. Who we getting to sponsor Cousin Ed's rants? Whatever we got to find a
Doom and
name.
gloom.
Yeah, doom and gloom.
I don't know.
But
Dude,
Sean, before we let you go, I know it seemed like you were talking yourself into it as you talked about the Islanders. What I know you said they were going to be on the bubble if all goes right, but give us a hard and fast prediction on where they're finishing.
They're going to finish 18th in the Eastern Conference. How about that?
Really?
Yeah.
Wait.
Or sorry, 10th.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are there 18
Is
teams
that
in the
low?
Eastern Conference?
Yeah, my apologies. I meant 2 spots out of the playoffs, so 10th.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
I was saying,
used
you
to be good at
were
math.
talking very positively there. Like it almost like you were talking yourself into, wow, all these guys hit.
No, he was saying there were a lot of question marks.
After hearing my rant, I fried Sean's brain, and he no longer can do math.
There's
Well, I was gonna
literally
say-
steam coming out of my ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Special teams, injuries, chemistry. I just it's hard for me to sit here and be like, yeah, guys, they're a hard in for the playoffs. Like that's kind of dreamboating it a little bit here. It'd be great if they did, but I'm gonna say realistically, yeah, two spots out of the playoffs, so 10th overall.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make it either. I do think they'll be competitive and fun for the Islander fans, but I just don't think they'll make it. And I think that honestly, that's okay if you're an Islanders fan, but you want to see some progress with some young players and just go into next year.
The one thing I'll leave you with is that when everybody thought they were going to be an absolute disaster when Lou and Trotz took over, they end up putting up a 100-point season,
right,
and making it to the second round. So you just don't know. Maybe they get the darts jolt and they surprise us, but certainly not what I'm expecting.
As good a coach as Trotz was, how bad is he a GM, dude? Like,
it's a rough start. It's a rough start, fellas.
My Lord.
Definitely some growing pains there for him. I loved him on the island, so I hope he turns it around there. But yeah, rough start for him.
Where do you have the Rangers finishing?
I guess I would have to put faith.
We need it for the graphic, Sean. We need it for the graphic.
It sucks. Yeah, I think Sullivan. I would put faith in Sullivan. Figuring it out for you guys. I don't know if you're going to win the Metro, but I would be comfortable saying, third. Sorry to be cliche, I guess. You said somebody else was saying that too, but yeah, I think third in the division is probably appropriate for them. Carolina's still going to be good, So I think that's where I'd put them. Yeah,
it's fair.
Yeah, damn. Well,
to my chagrin. Yeah,
I'll take it. Well, Sean, thanks for coming on, man. Looking forward to
a blast, boys.
A fun hockey year. We've been telling our guests, we do want to kind of do a mid-season thing where you come on, maybe not as formal as the Rivalry tour, but maybe you come on in December or January. We'll kind of catch each other up on where our teams are at
during the Olympic break.
Yeah, something like that. So
sounds great, fellas.
We'll touch base with you then, and enjoy the upswing the Islanders are on. Hopefully, It doesn't last long.
We'll see, but either way, thanks a lot for having me, boys. Take it easy, all right?
Great.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Later, buddy. Talk soon.
Great to see us.
And you guys can check Sean out on Hockey Night New York on YouTube, Hockey Night New York, also HockeyNightNY.com, at Shawnee Hockey, SEANY Hockey, and at Hockey Night NY on X. It does a great job. Again, it's hard to talk smack when you have such a reasonably opinioned guest. But it's still a little easy because it's the Islanders, so we could still do it. But
yeah,
boys, give your feedback on Sean.
No, we didn't really talk about it much while he was on, but Sean's always been very generous with us, or very gracious, whatever you want to call it. He always invites us to his live shows and things around Long Island and in around where Coach Ed and I live, Long Beach, Rockville Center, things like that. So keep an eye out for those kinds of announcements. I mean, whenever the Rangers play the Islanders, usually puts on a little live show and invites us to make an appearance. So yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe we'll even put on our own this season, and get together with Sean, and he's got all the equipment. I'm not gonna lie, so it's tough for us to do it on our own. So we kind of need Sean. But yeah, he's great. He's been doing it for a little bit longer than we have, and he's always been very generous. That's the word I was looking for, not gracious. Very generous with his time and, like I said, his equipment and his knowledge with the podcasting and I guess like putting on live performances, because he's a big music guy and all that good stuff. So thank you very much to Sean. Big fan of the show, or big friend of the show, fan of the show, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, just wanted to say that. Give him a thank you.
Friend of the show.
Well said.
Friend of the show. He's great. All right, boys. Couple Rangers tidbits. PJ, why don't you run us through the hirings in the front office here? I mean, did some moving around with the assistant GMs and hockey ops department. I think is worth talking about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's definitely really only like 2 hires if you look at it. It was really just bringing in Blake Wheeler as like an advisor to the GM, and then Ryan Clough, former player and former front office guy who was assistant GM with San Jose, came back to be assistant GM here. Jim Sullivan, who's been here for I think almost 17 years, he was like running a lot of their analytics. Now got bumped up to assistant GM.
No,
and then
no relation to Mike Sullivan, right?
Correct. And then Ryan Martin, who was the assistant GM, got that designation up to associate GM. I guess he's a step above because he was assistant, so it wouldn't look like he got a promotion any other way. So Drury's definitely surrounding himself with more voices, because for the longest time, and I said this on the podcast we did on Monday, it seemed like Drury was always kind of like a lone knight, was kind of caved in. I can almost visual him like locked in a room by himself, or someone really just did his thing. But now it seems to have more voices in the room and maybe learning from last year to have kind of some buffers around him and to bounce things off.
Well, let me ask you something. Ryan Clough came from San Jose's organization, right?
Correct.
So San Jose just took Goodrow last summer. This summer he changes and goes to the Rangers. Is there like a conspiracy to cook up here that like he takes Goodrow's contract to San Jose and then goes to the Rangers where I don't know. Like maybe I'm overthinking it.
Maybe it was a future considerations things. We know Mike Greer's best buds with Drury, so and that was a whole probably under the table deal with him. And then I think Clough wanted to be back closer to home.
I'll be a believer when Celebrini's wearing the Rangers sweater.
Oh, God, I wish.
Somehow, some way.
Well, if he was on the Rangers, he would have been the third line center with 42 points last year. So maybe 37 points.
Pretty solid.
Yeah. So
that'll be interesting to see where it goes. But definitely there's for a reason, right? I think just between, I said this again, that last year we heard how Drury was with all these players and how he treated them wrongly. Their agents bashed Drury. And this summer, it was the complete opposite. Keandre's agent praised Drury. Kreider's agents praised Drury. Now it just seems like he's, learning from criticisms he took. So, I'm looking at it as a positive.
Yeah, no, I like the moves. And Blake Wheeler, who I think in his year with the Rangers coach, I think he was a positive influence. I'll never forget Coach's hot take that year going into the season, the bold prediction that Wheeler was going to score 30 goals. Full circle, he's still with the team. This time he's in the hockey ops department. I think, before I let Coach respond to that, PJ, like that position is usually a transitional one for players who are interested in becoming a GM, right?
Yeah, if not a GM, then working in the front office.
Right.
Like I think Brad Richards did it for a little. I think even Brian Leach did it. It's just something to add to the resume that if it's with the Rangers or he moves on to another team, he could say he had some, experience.
Right. He gets in the room where it happened and then goes from there if he does a good job. So, Coach, what are your thoughts on bringing Blake Wheeler into the fold?
Well, the boys that we appeared on Monday weren't a fan of it. They weren't a fan of Blake Wheeler. I mean, I thought he was very professional. He had a very professional attitude when he was on the Rangers. I didn't think he caused any malcontent in the locker room and anything like that. I think he's a player's player. I think he's a good transition guy. He's close enough to being a player not long ago where he can maybe talk with Drury about things that are going on in the locker room more. And it's not a bad thing. He seems to be a good guy. He'll represent the organization well.
I think the biggest thing with Wheeler is like the leadership. I mean, I feel like I'm always harping on the leadership, but it's very important, especially with the team game. Obviously, in hockey, it's no secret, but he used to wear a C for the Jets. I mean, whether he wore a letter for the Rangers or not, I mean, he's obviously a well-respected veteran, or was a well-respected veteran in the locker room, and I'm sure he'll bring that to the front office too. I don't think Chris Drury is just going to give that job to anyone. So obviously he did something in his time just to deserve it, so I think it's good, like Coach had said, to surround yourself with guys who have been around the game and who, like I said, have led a team in some fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at that position as, I'm hoping what you're saying is right. Like that he has an impact, that his leadership is an impact, that he's heavily involved. But I do look at that position a little bit as like, this is for him. Like he was a good soldier with the team, and, it's a way to like get him in the room. I don't know, some kind of relationship he had with Drury during his time here. I don't know that they're expecting him to do much. What does that position even do, frankly? I mean,
I
what
could
is
see
it
him being
called
like
again?
a liaison to the locker room, maybe because he's just out of the league. He can kind of relate to the players a little better. Maybe
I like that liaison to the locker
Well,
room. The Rangers
right
do
there,
need a
like-
liaison to the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, if that really is the issue, that Drury quote unquote lost the room, then like, all right, fine, then like you need to be my liaison, my rep.
he could take
Isn't
all
that
the
what I just
complaints.
said? He's closer to being a player.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's an advisor to hockey operations coach is the name of the position. So
Yeah, so you could say so and so's pissed off, whatever, and kind of be that buffer.
yeah, we'll see. I think it's a good move. I like Wheeler. I wasn't like disappointed with him. Honestly, they got him super cheap. I was hoping he wasn't cooked, but he was kind of, and he was a good soldier, and I have no issues with Wheeler from his tenure. I mean, I thought he was fine, right?
He was awesome.
I mean, it's like Sean said, you need to get that. They lost the locker room. We've been talking about it. So if there's little things like he might go in and maybe say to whoever's the captain, Trocheck or Miller, and say, why don't you take him out to a team dinner? Let's, what do you think? He might just be able to do that, or he might go to Drury. Look, we got these two guys that, there's things they need to do. They have problems in their family, blah, blah. He might just be able to find out little bits and pieces that have to relate, when me and Eddie coach, I always said, learning over the years, you don't know what that person is going through.
Right.
All right. So, I coached high school kids a lot. There's a lot of things that go through a high school kid's life that you forget, especially when you're closer to their age. So he might be able to say, Drew, don't forget, this guy just got married. Let's give him a little leeway. This guy, he just had a baby. The kid's been sick. He's got this problem, blah, blah, blah. He just to remind him of situations that when you're caught up in the analytics and the contracts and this and that of your everyday life, you tend to kind of forget. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
I think that's a good point, Coach. I think you sold me on it.
Well said.
Yeah, you sold me on it. Good job.
Want to talk?
it's kind of like a mole. It's kind of like a mole for both sides. The players kind of get a little inside of what the front office is doing, and Drury gets an inside on what's going on in the locker room. Like
it's a mole. It's a mole that's like known though. It's like both sides know it's a mole. So it's like
like players might say things that around Wheeler that they're not going to say if Drury's in the room.
Right, even if they Wheeler to filter what they say to
even if they know it's going to get back to Drury. Exactly, like you just said.
So like player A says,
Molly.
Yeah, Drury kidding me trading this guy he didn't even call the guy. What the hell? Like, he didn't ask us what we think, blah, blah, blah. Wheeler says, okay, goes to Drury, says it in a different way, right? Says like, hey, why'd you trade that guy? Maybe, call this guy, call this player, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's a trust position. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you guys are selling me. I thought it was just kind of a nothing hire as like helping him
Well, I'm
get in
sure.
the
I'm
front
sure it
office.
is kind of a favor type of thing to keep the
Yeah,
guy involved. He's a long,
Definitely.
he's
It's
a
both.
big
It's definitely
veteran,
both.
but
yeah. Well, we'll see. And then the other thing is, you guys got the rookie camp. Is that next week?
No, this Friday and Saturday.
Oh,
2
this
weeks
Friday.
or 2
Saturday.
Yeah,
days.
rookie camp open today. That's why I was sending you all the quotes. You know, they were on the ice today and tomorrow, and then they play Friday, Saturday. Me, Coach, Little Ed, our sponsor Mark will be there. Allie will be there.
Nice.
So we're all except for Allie, we're all in the same section and row. So we'll be representing. You know,
Oh, I didn't know. I thought I saw Allie was trying to get rid of her tickets on Instagram.
She I don't know if last I she hasn't told me, but I'll double check. But last I
Well,
heard,
we'll talk about it. I
Yeah.
could have sworn I saw that. But
They're
whatever.
playing
Talk about
Philly,
it.
right?
yep, they're in Allentown.
Did you intentionally plan Siobhan to come on next week after the rookie camp? Was that like scheduled planning?
It actually worked
No,
out.
but we probably
Oh.
should have.
I was gonna
That's not
say,
great.
PJ, like great job, good foresight. Like I was gonna give you a nice compliment there, dude. Like that worked out really well.
I
Well,
wish I was.
now we know for next year.
I know. I wish I was thinking it. Just we were giving her dates. And Allie looks at her. She's listening at the show. She says she has 4 free tickets. She was giving 2 away.
Look at that. Look at that.
So
Nice.
So we got, just to touch on this, a little preview of the rookie camp. I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts after this when you see them up close. But, Brennan Othman, Noah Laba, Gabe Perreault, it looks like that's going to be the quote-unquote first line for the Rangers during this prospect camp. And it's really – you want to see good performances from all 3 of those guys because you want them to make NHL impacts this season at some point. I mean, that's the reality. So if they're not going to dominate or do extremely well in this kind of a setting, it doesn't bode well that they're going to have a serious impact. It's not a death sentence on that, but it doesn't bode well. So, I mean, PJ, you sent the quotes. Why don't you give a little rundown and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, before I go into the quotes, I think the other player to name in that group is Scott Morrow, who they got in the Condrey trade, is there. So I'm really excited to get a close look at him, especially because I haven't seen much other than highlights. So kind of see him, in the flesh will be a good test. And all these guys, if they can play well, can turn into positive momentum right into camp. And I know for a fact that like Drury and the coaches all go to this too. So they'll be looking at it too. And it's a good first impression for Sullivan. But the big news today was like on Othman because I personally was surprised he was there. I mean, it's his 5th camp. He's technically, I guess, a rookie. If you look at his NHL games, he's not played 30 yet. But, it was almost like it seemed like the team wanted him to go. It's almost like a message to me. And some of his quotes, it seemed like he's, kind of took where he is at to heart. He changed up his training. It sounded like he ditched his trainer and went up and trained with Gary Roberts. And to give people background, he also has like McDavid, Draisaitl, on a group of NHLers there. So it seemed like he was nervous, according to his quotes last year coming up, being around NHLers. This year, it's not the case. He's more ready. And it seemed like he put on some more muscle and he's ready to hit the ground running and seems in a better frame of mind. He knows it's kind of a make or break season.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely interested to see Othman. I said it during one of my bike videos this year that I think Brett Berard is a sneaky pick to have a good season with Mike Sullivan. Reminds me of a Mike Sullivan player in Pittsburgh, one of those annoying like Brian Rust or even Connor Sheary type guys.
Hagelin.
Yeah, guys that just do well with a motor like his and a sneaky good shot, good, decent awareness. Othman, I'm just so intrigued by because this is a guy who really put up like super impressive numbers in OHL. And even in Hartford, put up decent numbers, did well in the power play. He's got a really good shot, but just couldn't score at the NHL level. And I'm very curious to see what his season looks like, because if I were to rank prospects for the Rangers, I would rank Othman ahead of Berard just as a prospect. Just that when you're looking at ceiling, like who's more likely to be a top 6 guy for their career, I would probably say Othman. but I think it's like more likely Berard, at this point at least, has a long career. I just see him as more likely a middle six, bottom six guy. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, PJ, what your thoughts are, but I'm very interested in Othman this year, where he's going to go. I think this is going to determine his Ranger future.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And like you brought up Berard, and I was going to mention that. It's telling that Berard is not at this rookie camp and Othman is. So it shows to me that Berard has a leg up, at least, on paper. But yeah, Othman, I mean, there's spot. I said it. There's a definite spot for Perot, Othman, or Berard. There's definitely one spot on the third line for them. And it could be two if Radish goes to the fourth line. So they all have to have big camps if they want to earn it, and it would be exciting camp. And this is where it starts. This Othman specifically, he has to. It's time, so he has to show it. They need him. The way he can play and score. They could really use some prospect development luck for one of these guys to hit.
Seems like he's got a good attitude, though, Coach. I don't know if you saw his quotes.
I did see the quotes, and the thing I like about him, and watching him last year when he was getting in games, I felt like he was in a good position to score a lot. I kind of think he was a little snake bit, and he seems like the kind of player who's going to work on certain things for the puck to go in the net. I mean, the stuff that we can't even really comprehend that they work on, stick angles. There's all kinds of stuff when you're looking at drills and you watch the stuff on the internet that these coaches go through. So I feel confident that he's, at least making that effort, and we'll see what comes out of it. Obviously, you guys just said he's been working out with a different coach and stuff like that. So a strength coach, and we'll see what happens. I'm not that high. I'm not that as high as you guys are on Berard. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but
I think, cuz kind of to your point, I think Berard's playing style is more like, I don't know if this is like NHL sustainable, whereas like he could be effective no matter what with his forechecking, with, like you said, his motor just kind of flying around the ice, like just wreaking a little bit of havoc in the offensive zone. Whereas like Othman should, I always looked at Othman as like, hopefully he's like our Brady or Matthew Tkachuk, and he hasn't really done that. I feel like he needs a little bit more of that in his game. And the few times he has been up with the Rangers, when he did do that, when he showed his toughness that I think we've all seen, I think that's where he excels. So, I mean, maybe this weekend will give him a little bit of confidence where, I mean, I don't want to say this the wrong way. He could beat up a little bit on like the younger kids and kind of show a little bit of dominance physically, and hopefully like he turns into that type of player, because I don't see him as like this offensive like threat where he's going to like snipe on the power play and things like that. Maybe in Hartford, sure, but in the NHL, he's going to find different ways to be effective.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess to make my point clearer, I think you did a good job of summarizing it, though, is like I would put Othman, if I were looking at potential, I'd say top 6 potential, but a low likelihood of reaching it. Whereas Berard, I see as more bottom 6 potential, middle 6 at most, but a very high likelihood of reaching that potential. So it's like hard to judge who's a better prospect.
Yeah,
I think
going
on ceiling. What's that?
Berard has the higher floor, Hoffman has the higher ceiling.
Exactly. There you go. You just did it well. So I want Othman to reach that ceiling, and like you said, that's what he's got to do, is be that feisty guy that he was billed as when they drafted him. So he's got good character. Drury's, if nothing else, he's drafted guys with good character, and Othman is one of those guys. So let's see
Great
if that
head on
pays
the
off.
shoulders. You could see it.
Yeah, let's see if that pays off for him in his development. Some guys take longer than others. We'll see.
Yep.
But I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about it, up close and personal.
Yeah.
Before I read the articles on it, I want to hear.
I do. From what I understand, the Flyers are streaming both games on their website. So for those that can't make it, you should be able to at least watch it. And I know the Rangers a lot of times will clip it too. So there should definitely be highlights and stuff, but we'll have a full in-depth report. And like you said, it couldn't have timed perfectly. I wonder if Siobhan will be there or watching, so we'll get the full report on her side too.
She might be there. You should reach out to her.
I should. I'll DM her, because I was going to DM her tomorrow anyway, because just to confirm she's all set for next week. So I will mention it.
For sure.
But the only other guy I was going to mention that should
Inside
be
the podcast to end the
there
episode.
you go, behind the scenes. But I should say the only other guy that should be interesting to watch is that Kerry Terrance, the guy they got for Kreider, is also going to be there.
I
And
don't
he'll
think
be
that's
in
true. I
Hartford
mean,
this year.
there's
So,
more
yeah, it'll
guys
be a good
there.
first look at him, too.
Yeah, sorry. There's more guys that are interesting to watch. I mean, Robrick, I want to see him.
Yeah, I want to see him, too.
I mean, so I might just send me the links to those games. I want to see if I could.
Yeah, when I
catch
see him
them.
posted, I definitely will.
All right, cool. Well, enjoy that. Thank you
We-
guys.
Sorry,
guys
one more
for-
thing. One more thing about the weekend. We have to try to figure out a way to get like Coach Ed to write like an article, like a prospect article. Like obviously he's not going to actually write one, so maybe like we can record him saying it and transcribe it or something. But like we need to make like a
No. What you do? You print out a blank scouting report like that scouts would use.
that might be the move. A clipboard in the stands with Coach. That might be the
clipboard?
move.
Great
Clipboard and
content.
like a blank things for him to just take some notes on about some of the guys. You
Yeah,
can fill
for
I
out
think
Denny's
we gotta
National
do it.
Pro Scout.
We
fill
could
out
all
the
do
top,
it.
the player, their age, their height, their weight. PJ could fill that out and then just give it to him. And then while he's watching, he can put notes on the clipboard, man.
I love that. Next 2 days,
All right.
I'm home, so I have some homework. We'll put together a little scouting.
All right, sounds good. All right, boys.
The other thing before we let go,
guys, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, we got to remind everybody, sweet tickets. Get them all
Yes.
the
Yes. Good job, PJ.
Say it again.
We've been getting some selling some tickets, I should say. So they are going. We do have some left. So for sure, reach out to us and let's get some tickets. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
Better to
definitely.
hang out with everybody.
Reach out on
Yeah.
Instagram. All right, boys. Good episode. Hats off.
You made it through.
We made it through. I'm going to take some medication and hit the hay.
All right, have a good night, fellas.
We'll
Love
see you
you
guys
guys.
next week for Flyers and recap of the rookie series. And then if you're there, give us a DM if you're there. We'll tell you where we're at.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Me
Me
too.
too.
I'm craving it. I'm literally going mid-move. Like you could see my background. I'm moving Saturday and still going to both games. That's how desperate I am for hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
All right, boys.
today on Mind Your Fucking Business, Jeff's is like, I don't know who's crazy enough to drive downtown and go to these games. And I'm listening. Like, I literally texted Jeff on the side. I'm like, I didn't really appreciate the ricochet shots that you were handing us today.
Obviously, I said the same thing. I was listening to myself like, that's me.
Yeah. Funny. But it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to it. And another shout out to Mark from Blue Line Blue Shirts. He's also been helping us out on social media, collabing with all of our posts and accepting his role as part of the Rangers Ed team. So shout out to Marky Mark. I know you'll be listening tomorrow morning on your walk. So we're looking forward to spending the weekend with you, buddy.
Yeah,
See you
can't wait
soon.
to meet him in person.
For sure.
All right, enjoy, boys.
All right.
Have
Good
a
night,
good night,
everyone.
fellas. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
The Rangers.
Till next
Go
time.
Rangers.